1 in 2 buyers expect to spend more time at home in the next 5 years.
How do you design a community that fosters connection?
People choose locations and qualities of places to live, and then they'll choose their homes.
Aussie homes and suburbs are changing, and that change really just feels like it's accelerating. In partnership with Stockland, I'm here with Ben White, researcher at realestate.com.au, and Clive Alcock, urban design lead at Stockland, speaking to how our homes and neighbourhoods are evolving and what the future holds. Now, Ben, I know you are sitting on a wealth of new data in our latest Property Seeker report. Let's start with homes first. What trends are emerging in that space? What are people telling us that they actually want in a home?
Yeah, so our annual Property Seeker study is bigger and better than ever. We spoke to more than 15,000 Aussies to really get under the hood of what they're looking for in their next home. One of the first themes that came through was really about that lifestyle purchase. So people looking for ways to either get a better quality home, whether to improve their current state, or looking for ways where they're not having to rent anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And what that really also uncovered is this financial outcome. So as well as the home being an emotional purchase, there's also this piece around the home being an investment vehicle and being the longer term way to create financial wealth.
Okay, so then what's driving the trends?
So I think there's a few factors that are at play. 1 in 2 buyers said that the reason for wanting to move to their next home was either due to a family or a life stage change. So it's a really kind of emotional reason for them looking to purchase a new property. And with that, you have the idea of shifting lifestyles. So whether that's a downsizer looking to maybe look for a low maintenance property, or whether that's at the other end of the spectrum where you've got people looking to upsize and upgrade to support a growing family. I think the other one is around hybrid work.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought that was something that maybe was going to come with COVID and then go away again. But for many Aussies, it's really something that's here to stay. And so that's really front of mind. People looking for that home, whether that's a dedicated space to work from home, or maybe just a spare bedroom that you can adapt to be that space for you. But it's really something that we're seeing more Aussies are spending more time at the home for work purposes as well, which is filtering into their criteria.
Okay, so Clive, you're at the forefront of designing these modern communities. In terms of the homes within these communities, how are buyers taking these trends and then turning them into floor plans and, I guess, future-proofing their home?
We're seeing homes being used as lifestyle enablers. So whether that's wellness, whether that's adaptability, we're seeing that people want a flexible offer so that homes can adapt over time, and so that a nursery could become a gym in the future. And the home has optionality built into it so that it's easy to change and live, particularly as our lifestyles are changing. We're also seeing a very strong move towards sustainable and efficient homes, support running a home at a reasonable cost. There's an ambition for us to tread a bit more lightly on the planet with how we're living in our homes.
One major trend is that we're increasingly spending more time in the home. Ben, what are people prioritising because of this?
We're seeing that 1 in 2 buyers expect to spend more time at home in the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Cost of living pressures. So people that were maybe had discretionary spend to spend at restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
they may be thinking about hosting people in the home instead. And so whilst there's key non-negotiables across segments, there are some differences by the different buyer types. So if we start with, say, first home buyers, they're really looking to stretch maybe a more modest budget to get the features that they're really looking to prioritise. When we think we've got families or upsizers, they're much more focused on achieving the right number of bedrooms, maybe having an outdoor entertaining space for a growing family. And then you've got your downsizers who are really looking for low maintenance properties, a real great sense of security, and also community. We saw a real increase in those downsizers wanting to be close to family or friends. There's really that family connection piece coming through strongly.
Clive, you design communities from the ground up. What are people telling you that they want to see?
There are sort of 3 important C words there: connection, community, and convenience. We're seeing that they want all of those, and it goes beyond the home and into the broader community offer. And I believe that the new communities that are being created are more sophisticated than they used to be, and that's a response to what people want. We measure this annually in our livability survey, which takes a poll of a lot of the people that live in our communities, and they stress the broader community aspects of accessibility, safety, friendliness, feeling like part of a community. That rates quite a bit higher than the actual conveniences and specifications of the home. So that's always surprising to me, but it just shows that people choose locations and qualities of places to live, and then they'll choose their homes.
A problem that almost everybody is facing in their home buying journey is that issue of affordability. What changes are you seeing in response to rising unaffordability?
Well, affordability is a really thorny problem, and it's something that we see not only in Australia but around the world. And in our cities, we've seen since the year 2000 a growing disparity between incomes and home prices, and to a point where now it's becoming pretty unaffordable for a lot of people to either buy or rent and enter new properties. So we're looking at a lot of responses in that area. Apartments are part of the answer in some of our places, but they're not always feasible in some of the newer communities. So there we're looking at terraces and what we call micro lots, which are really small apartment-sized homes that respond to the demographic trend of people living as 1- and 2-person households around the country. That's over 50% of our population. So we need to make sure that in our communities we're future-proofing them by giving opportunities for people to get into housing and to downsize from family-sized homes. So that's a trend we're seeing emerging and that we're actively pushing because we want to make sure that we're future-proofing the places that we create.
Clive, sustainability is something that people do struggle to grasp, but it actually is an element of the home and the community that's almost a non-negotiable these days. You know, what does sustainability mean in terms of modern community design?
We're trialling a lot of sustainable initiatives that will improve both the home but also the operation of the whole community. So whether it's passive measures to do with how the home uses the sun and cross ventilation, or active measures like solar on the roof connected to battery systems. We're currently implementing a townhouse project in Fremantle in Western Australia, where we've supplied batteries and solar panels. That gives the residents an 80% saving in their energy bills, and it also helps the energy grid to stabilise over in WA on a hot day when everybody's using a lot of power. There are other initiatives that we're doing in communities are things like cool seal roads, which are lighter and absorb less of the sun's energy, increased planting and cool roofs on homes, so that overall we're trying to reduce the environmental impact. And more broadly, we're looking at decarbonisation through use of green concrete and lower carbon emission steel. So we're looking at all levels at a sustainable response in how we develop our cities.
Looping back to that theme of connection and belonging, look, one stat from the Black Dog Institute that does always horrify me is that 1 in 3 Australian adults self-report as feeling lonely. How are you creating communities that really do foster that sense of connection?
We look at it in two ways: in the physical setting that we build, the theatre of life, and in the social side of what we create, the sort of play that goes on around the place. And so we build places that are multifunctional with town centres, parks, schools, and local spaces connected, so that there are opportunities for people to socialise. And then we, particularly in the early life of communities, run events, programs, start community gardens, initiatives that will get people together. And particularly for the marginalised people who feel not part of a community, give them opportunities to interact and form social bonds with the people around them, because we're aware that, just producing houses and streets is not enough. It has to go beyond that into considering this whole social life of the community.
On that social life theme, Ben, one phrase that I loved from this year's Property Seeker research was the term a hosthood. Like, tell us a bit more about what that's about.
Clive had his 3 C's. I've got my 2 H's, the hosthood. So really what this speaks to us is that people are looking to host more. We've talked a bit more about spending more time at home or in the garden for hosting, but they want to be able to do everything within their hood. And so hosthood really talks to neighbourhood design that promotes that sense of community and shared spaces as well. It's built on the 20-minute neighbourhood. So with people wanting to look for ways to use their cars less, rely less on public transport, what is accessible in their local area, whether that's supermarkets, whether that's places of worship, whether that's school zones or even their friends and family. They're looking more to do that in the walking distance. And so the hosthood is really around that neighbourhood that allows for that.
Clive, are you seeing this trend come through in the communities that you're designing?
Definitely, it's a strong trend, and it's both in the home, in the design of open plan homes that flow onto courtyards with outdoor kitchens, and being able to have people at your place that you can entertain in, and that extends into the broader community. But we're also seeing it in the parks and spaces and town centre spaces that we create, where because of our multicultural community, there are a lot of groups of people that like to socialise in large groups, cook together, have parties outdoors, and it's affected the way that we design, particularly the parks and picnic areas within our projects. So it's something that human society wants to externalise, and we try and promote that, and it's another way of promoting the social connection that we talked about earlier.
Ben, if you could skip ahead to 20 years, what is the average Australian home and what is the average neighbourhood looking like, if you could just, pop your finger in the air and take a guess?
Crystal ball question. I'll give it a go. So I think there's a few things that really spring to mind. The first is adaptable spaces, whether that's flexible rooms, layouts that allow for different home structures. We talked a bit about multicultural Australia today, and with that we're getting more communities that do think about a multi-generational living arrangement. And so making sure that spaces are adaptable for that is going to be one thing. I think also we need to think about inclusive spaces. So what I mean by that is spaces that have accessibility needs for older people living in the home, or even just facilitating a home that can adapt with you as you go through your different life stages, and making sure that it's inclusive for a whole host of people that want to be living there or even being hosted there as well. I think the other thing that's worth mentioning as well is about tech enablement. Tech enablement is going to offer 2 things. It's not just about feeling secure at the home with things like smart cameras and smart devices, but also lending itself to making the home more sustainable. I think tech is going to become an even more important role in that, and we'll see a lot of changes in the future Aussie household. And I think the last point is just really reiterating that piece around community-driven neighbourhoods. People are going to be wanting to spend potentially the same amount, if not more, time at home. And so it's about houses that deliver that, but also the local community that allows them to do that with lots of amenities as well.
That's awesome. Clive, do you have anything to build upon that, or do you kind of, agree with everything Ben just mentioned?
Yeah, Ben's covered a lot of how we see the future as well. We see it as greener, smarter and more connected. And greener, we've talked over sustainability, but that will accelerate along with the smarter bit, along with the technology bit that will facilitate more sustainable outcomes. And connected, I think, has been a theme of what we've been talking about today. It really is an opportunity for us to create better lives for people through the environments that they inhabit. We're seeing changes in multi-generational living, for instance, that families can connect more strongly than they may have been through continuing to live together, to living in different structures. And therefore, the sense of connection both within the home and within the community is something that is a strong theme in how we're seeing the future.
Well, look, I think it's a very watch this space type of thing as communities and neighbourhoods and homes and people and populations continue to evolve. So thanks so much for joining me today, guys. I really appreciate all of your insights, and it's actually really exciting to see what's possibly to come in the way that we live. Thanks for joining me. This has been Real Talk. For your weekly fix, please follow wherever you listen to your podcasts and tune in next time for more real questions, news and insights on the topics that matter most from realestate.com.au, Australia's #1 address in property. The information discussed in this podcast is provided for general information purposes only and reflects opinions based on information available at the time of recording. It should not be relied upon as financial, legal or professional advice. You should make your own inquiries and seek independent advice tailored to your circumstances before making any decisions. Views expressed by third parties are their own and do not necessarily represent those of Stockland. To the maximum extent permitted by law, Stockland accepts no liability for any loss or damage arising from reliance on this content.
Real Talk acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, air and community. We pay our respects to elders past and present.